So in the brand new update, Autocannon just added the Ekranoplan, and before we even start this video, I strongly advise you guys not to buy this. This is by far the worst mythic which Autocannon has ever actually released when it comes to overall damage. The only thing that really goes even with it would probably be the TO55. This thing is extraordinarily weak and it has so many issues going for it. And by the way, before we start this video, make sure to join my Discord server. I am currently giving away the Ekranoplan. The link is in the description. So firstly, when we move into its base statistics, it's gonna be having a health of 4,100 and speed of 163. When you max it out, it's gonna be having a health of 5,330 and a speed of 211, and its part requirement is going to be 10. Now firstly, we're going to be taking a look at this thing's main autocannon, and I have to say the overall damage which this thing is actually dealing is obviously pretty good. It will be able to shred a F-35B and a Super Hind pretty quickly, to be totally honest with you, and the same results can also be seen against the Striker Shorad. You'll be able to kill it in around 3 seconds, and the same can also be seen against a TO-55. However, reasonably, keep in mind you're not really going to be using an autocannon against ground vehicles. That's just not bound to happen, since ships always have this issue. Now, if we move into the damage that it does against this Zumwalt, it's honestly pretty decent at the end whenever you check the damage, but the issue that I definitely see is that this thing shoots for so long, which just means that it takes a while for it to actually get its damage out, which in most scenarios is a good thing since it can consistently shoot. However, as a vehicle that's supposed to be on water, a boat, it's supposed to be dealing insane DPS, and against the ships, it's not really going to be able to do that. Now, when we move into this thing's guided missiles, this is where things truly get a little bit interesting, because obviously it's going to be able to one-shot an F-35 and the Mi-24 Super Hind, which, in all honesty, is just the average damage that guided missiles can really do in this game. Now, if we move into its damage against the Striker Shora, this is where things get a little interesting. It's going to be taking you 3 of the missiles to actually kill it, and 4 of the missiles to actually kill a TO-55, which, reasonably, it should be okay damage. However, keep in mind, engaging ground vehicles and tanks as a boat is not something very easy, and most of the time you're probably going to end up missing. However, in the best case scenario, this thing should be pretty good against boats, you might say. Well, unfortunately, if I put it against maybe something like a USS Zumwalt, the fight will not even be close. This thing just gets shredded extremely quickly, and its DPS against ships is really not that great. It's, in all honesty, kind of just average. Alright guys, so now that we went over this thing's strong points, which is obviously its decent damage, which it's able to deal in a pretty quick amount of time to most vehicles in this game. Unfortunately, it does have a lot of downsides going for it. The first issue which this thing has is that it lacks the scope, which is really annoying since vehicles with no scope will probably not be able to engage vehicles at very far range. It's pretty obvious. However, another issue which this vehicle has is that it can only shoot its autocannons from the front and the back. However, it cannot shoot them from the middle, which means you have a blind spot that basically covers most of your vehicle. Like, let's just say roughly around here is going to be your blind spot for the ship. Now, the next issue which this vehicle also has is its bad turning. Just take a look on how this thing basically turns like a brick, which is pretty obvious for a ship in this game. However, since you have such a massive blind spot, you need a better turning speed to kind of deal with that. Unfortunately, that is just not the case. Now, the next issue which I also found with this vehicle, since it's extremely fast, is that it gets stuck on terrain quite easily, and there are certain points where you literally just cannot move. Like right here, guys, as you can see, I literally cannot move forever, and there is no way for me to get out of here. Now, the next issue which this vehicle also has is no flares, no chaff, so basically no possible countermeasures, which means that you're essentially gonna get destroyed by vehicles that just abuse missiles against you. So definitely good luck with that. And the next issue which I also found is that sometimes you even have the ability to go as fast as the missiles themselves. And the issue with that is that the missile despawns pretty quickly. As you guys can see, this is how far the missile went. So if you do not have scope and you don't understand how far your missile can actually travel, it's gonna be very difficult to actually shoot vehicles at the sky, because the missile will just end up despawning around that point, which is honestly not that far of a range, to be totally honest with you. And then, of course, one more problem which I seem to notice with this vehicle is that the recoil of these missiles is actually pretty huge, and it's kind of hard to control them from time to time. Like, the missile control is is not that easy either. But then again, most guided missiles do not have this problem compared to this vehicle, to be honest. And then of course, the one last problem going for this thing is obviously going to be its price. Like, I have no words for this vehicle. I think the only vehicle that really matches it in terms of how weak it is gonna be the TO-55. I really don't suggest you guys to be buying this thing.